Well, that already shows that I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So this is my very first time leading ever. But I felt okay to do it because I'll do the end speech that we do at closing now, which is to say that at Dharma Bum, we say we are not gurus, monks, leaders, teachers. So we are lay people who share our experience of Buddhist practice with each other. So that's what I'm here to do. I don't see anyone online yet, so we'll see. Oh yeah, I do. 2 people are online. Hello, 2 people online. If you want to chat and say hello or ask any questions, please do so. I'll need to put my glasses on to see them because I'm at that age. But great to see that there are some people here. Hi. So my first question would just be, I know many of you, the majority here, are not brand new to Dharma Bum. I don't think I've met you before. Are you new to the temple?
No, I usually come to the Zen.
Okay. And are you familiar with what Metta meditation is? Okay. So I guess what I was going to say, just to start with, is, I was going to ask people about if they have a daily practice, but since I kind of know most everybody here, I can ask YouTube if you have a daily practice. But a long time ago, when I was first studying Buddhist meditation, someone asked, if you should set aside a long time once a week to do meditation or do shorter meditations every day. And the teacher said, do you not brush your teeth for 5 days and then brush your teeth for 20 minutes on a Saturday? And that kind of changed my frame of mind, because when Jeff and Maggie asked me about, what I knew about Metta, I said, I've been practicing Metta for close to 20 years, because when I learned meditation in the tradition I learned it in, Metta was part of brushing your teeth. And the idea is, as I understood it and still do practice it, I think, is that I don't meditate for myself, or we don't meditate for ourselves. We meditate to exist in the world. And so existing in the world doesn't end here. So, for example, the tradition I learned in, we meditate with our eyes open, which you're welcome to do or not, as it's whatever. As I said, this is a non-denominational temple, in the sense that we're not instructing anybody in all practice. But the practice that I learned was to keep your eyes open, because the idea is we're not meditating to go inward. We're meditating to be in the world. And then the other thing was that the idea that we meditate to exist in the world, and, from a really old Buddhist, traditional Buddhist perspective, to bring about the end of suffering for all sentient beings. I think in contemporary terms that can seem a little grandiose, like I'm going to end the suffering of existence for every sentient being in the universe by meditating. But to me, it relates to trying to exist as a person in society who fundamentally wants to be of use, right? Fundamentally, I'd like to go out in the world, and I'd like to, be helpful to others, be useful to others. It doesn't mean I'm a martyr. I have officially quit working in not-for-profit, so I'm never doing that again. Everyone on YouTube just heard that. Print it, stamp it, send it to the press. But at the same time, when I go out in the world, I don't want to cause harm. I don't want to make things worse than they are, especially not now. And fundamentally, I would like to leave a room with someone thinking, with the sense that it was better for my having been there, because otherwise, what am I doing on this planet? And even though it's not a Buddhist tradition, I do really like a saying from the Jewish tradition, which is Rabbi Hillel, who said, if I am only for myself, who am I for? If I am not for myself, who will be for me? Or the other way around. I think it's, if I'm not for myself, who am I for? And sorry, I messed that up twice. A little nervous. It's my first time. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, who am I for? Everyone's nodding. I got that right the third time. So the idea being, I have to be for myself because ultimately I'm the one who's going to get myself up in the morning, drink, stay appropriately hydrated, take care of my dental hygiene, and advocate for myself as a citizen of this planet. But if I'm only for myself, what the hell am I doing here? What's the point, right? So metta is the idea of taking the internal practice further. So we'll do about a 20-minute meditation, which will start with loving kindness for ourselves, because it's that if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? And then we'll move it circle by circle to expand outward to say, if I'm only for myself, who am I for? I have a cough drop because it's that season. I use, some of you who may have attended before, there's a more structured set of words. I use a slightly simpler one. Again, this is just the way I approach this or learned it or currently practice it. And that's what else, I was going to say about the brushing your teeth every day. So most days I manage to meditate, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 minutes. Before I had a kid, that was 6 minutes. And I always hit 6 minutes. And that sounds really short, but when you sit here, 20 minutes feels really, really long. And then I always say my metta. And that's pretty much it. I mean, so I'm not, again, I'm not a teacher, a guru, a nothing. But I am a person who has sustained a practice of using metta every day for, I think, I'm saying 20 years, but I think it's closer to 16, but somewhere in the 15-year range. So everyone in this room is fairly familiar with some form of meditation. You've all been here before, so you can follow whatever your own tradition or own practice is. I'm going to ring the bell. We're going to sit for 20 minutes, and I'll lead us through the degrees of metta that we'll be practicing tonight. And then I'll take questions either from the room or online. Again, I won't be in a position to answer in any authoritative way, but I can answer how I practice and how I understand it. So this time I'm going to get the bell right. And we'll start by focusing on the breath. Again, if you choose to practice with your eyes open, you can keep a soft focus. If you choose to practice with your eyes closed, focus on the breath. Feeling the inhale and exhale can prevent you from falling asleep, should you be inclined. And I'm going to let us focus into breath for a few minutes. And now we're going to bring our attention inward to ourselves, focusing on bringing loving kindness to our own being, because as humans, we are deserving of loving kindness. And we can say to ourselves, may I have happiness and the root of all happiness. And if people are struggling with this, you could imagine yourself looking at yourself from outside, seeing that as a human being, you exist in this world and are therefore deserving of kindness. Or you might think of yourself as, some people say, as a child, but it's like as a child or as being vulnerable or in an unaltered state. But thinking of yourself, knowing if I'm not for myself, who will be for me, and wishing yourself kindness. May I have happiness and the root of all happiness. And now expanding that circle of loving kindness one step outward by focusing or thinking of a person or people who naturally inspire loving kindness in you. Could be a member of your family, a friend, or just someone, that certain someone that every time you think of them, you immediately feel a feeling of loving kindness towards them. Someone you find easy to show loving kindness to. And now, expanding the circle of loving kindness one step further outward to someone or a group of people about whom you feel relatively neutral. You may encounter them very casually in a very perfunctory way throughout your day. It might be a group or collection of people, maybe in a neighborhood or a city you don't know well, or someone you see doing a job around town. And focus on bringing your loving kindness further out from the circle, saying, may they have happiness and the root of all happiness. And now, expanding the circle to encompass someone whom you find less easy to summon feelings of loving kindness for. This does not have to be your arch enemy. You can absolutely choose how challenging this person is, how difficult, how much interaction you've had with them. You do not have to use this time to forgive them, to fix them, to solve them, you do not have to endorse them. All you have to do is know that as a human being, they're deserving of loving kindness. And think and focus on, may they have happiness and the root of all happiness. And now bringing the circle out to encompass all humans, all people, all beings, all animals, all living things, all sentient beings. Knowing that the purpose we started with of meditating, bringing love and kindness to ourselves, we are now expanding to share with all living beings everywhere. May all beings have happiness and the root of all happiness. Okay, so that was exactly 20 minutes. And take any questions on YouTube, and we can open it to a discussion of anything we're experiencing or contemplating or thinking about the meditation. I'll say, did anyone struggle initially with finding loving kindness for themselves? I'm asking YouTube as well. Sometimes that's a common refrain. It feels antithetical to a lot of the ways we tend to think about spiritual practice or how we are in the world about showing kindness and loving to ourselves first. I'll see if anyone has anything to say about that or questions or thoughts. Kathy?
Thank you for that. It was great. I have a comment really about this. So I've always struggled a little bit with the structure of this meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the sort of variation that you did tonight was really helpful. And the thing that I've always struggled with is that as I've encountered it before as a guided meditation, the pattern, the sequence has been first yourself, and then there's the next piece is always sort of a list of, someone to whom you owe something, like a mentor or a teacher or someone to whom you're kind of grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And what you did was to center the experience of how easy it is to give loving kindness to the next level,
Mm-hmm.
to the sort of second. And that was just really helpful because I always find myself with the way that I've encountered it before, kind of resisting the whole idea that should be so easy as to give loving kindness to people to whom you owe things. I don't know why, but I've always done that.
Yeah.
And so in your centering the kind of subjective gradations from yourself to somebody to whom that's easy, it sort of fell into place for me in a different way.
Yeah. So as I'll do my best to summarize for the people on YouTube. So the thought was, Kathy shared an experience of struggling with the structure of this meditation, often it being more structured, including people to whom you owe something, who might be a mentor, and then so on and so forth. But that to sort of work from a circle of inwards outwards was helpful to her. So to me, the reason, as I say, that I've practiced Metta, and by the way, I don't practice a 20-minute meditation. I say one sentence. But the reason why I say this one sentence is to say, okay, I've done my time on the cushion or the bed right now. Why did I do it, right? What was the point? Anyone can sit and meditate. It's really not going to matter. If this is my experience, it's really not going to matter how much meditation or how much calm or how much enlightenment or how much knowledge or how much wisdom or how much centering you get from the 2 minutes of meditation, the 3 minutes of meditation, the 20 minutes of meditation, if there wasn't a reason you did it. Why do it? And so for me, the metta is the act of taking it from this 2 minutes that I've taken for myself in silence to, observe and let go of my thoughts and be quiet. And then to say, hello world, this is why I did this. I'm not, it's not, I'm not navel gazing, there's a reason I do this every day, or try to, mostly. Any other questions from YouTube or from the group about starting with yourself? Yeah.
I just kind of immediately, I don't know what the term navel gazing refers to.
Navel gazing? Oh.
Yeah, you mentioned it just now, I don't know what that means.
So it's actually a very old-fashioned idea. I think it actually comes originally from like Sanskrit or something like that, that the idea was, and this would have been in the Buddhist tradition that he grew up in before he sat, but the idea being that enlightenment comes from looking inward. And so the idea that you stare at your own navel and you kind of contemplate. There's actually a really weird long word called omphaloskeptic, which literally means someone who's skept is like thought, and omphalos is like your navel. But basically, I mean, and bear in mind, I'm in no way, shape, or form saying anything derogatory about Hinduism, but the idea of sort of the hara, or the center, being inside the self, was what Buddha was raised with and was dissatisfied with when he sought enlightenment. And so his thing, as I understand it, again, I'm not a historian, I'm not a Buddhist scholar, but my understanding is that his experience of enlightenment was such that it was not centered on the self, and it was supposed to be transmitted outward. And that is why after he achieved enlightenment, he went out into the world. He didn't start a monastery or a class or a sect that was enclosed. That came later as, society structured Buddhism according to how they wanted to practice it in their various countries and traditions. So that's kind of what I'm talking about the idea of taking this idea that enlightenment is within the self and that you spend all this time inward, was the breakthrough that Buddha had, that connected the Hindu tradition of studying the self and the hara, the self is right here, and bringing it out into the world. That's as I understand it. Again, disclaimer of the Dharma Bums. We are not scholars, teachers, gurus. We are lay people. Any questions or thoughts from YouTube? Anyone else? I guess I can go to the next level of oftentimes I find, and people find, the one I love, or the person who, or being who inspires sense of love, is kind of sometimes the easiest for some people. It's the thing that, for me, it's just the thing that makes me go, that little, and, sometimes I think we maybe don't need to be so limited in this, especially in the modern world. I think a lot of teachers will say a family member, but for a lot of people, your family is not the person who, makes you go like that. And also other people might not live in contact with that. We might live in a different structure. So sometimes I even can think of this as an artist who inspires me, a voice that inspires me, that, that person who just, as soon as I think of them, I just, I get that feeling. And I think maybe releasing the reins of that a little bit can help us in this meditation, because sometimes I think there's a burden or an expectation that you must have somebody you love unconditionally, with no reservations, who always, with no exceptions, inspires love and kindness in you. And not all of us have that. I actually have one person like that, and it's not anyone I'm related to. It's not actually my child, believe it or not. So that and again, there might not be someone in your immediate life, but there might have been an experience with a person or with a human entity, with a human experience that you had, that brings you that sense of, that's the way I experience it. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about that? Yeah.
I kind of agree with what you were saying. Like, family was actually like the last
for me. Yeah.
Which is why I'm here before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But for the second tier, I mean, I have people that can't fit in that, but also like my dog and my cats were like.
Sure. Any sentient being. Yeah. And I mean, I think this is not to say that there's a goal or an objective, but in an ideal world, that loving kindness, you can feel towards a pet would someday be brought out into the circle of people. And, there are people who might just not be there. But it's that I think pets and animals in general can be kind of this repository for loving kindness because we do love them unconditionally. We can't have expectations of them. They are going to do what they are going to do. And so, because I think of metta, again, not as literally like I must have this object, but more as a feeling that I am expanding towards the world, in my experience, I think that's completely valid. Not that you need my validation, but yeah. Any other questions, thoughts, comments on the one I love? All right, and then the neutral one has been new to me since I came to Dharma Bum. When I first practiced metta, I had never heard that before. So, sometimes the examples they use are like someone in the grocery store or something, but as soon as I think of the grocery store, I actually feel really positive towards the person because I'm like, I want them to help me. And it's not even that I want them to help me, it's that they are helping me, So I've kind of come to that one, thinking of it more like, San Diego or University Heights. I don't know everyone here. I don't have feelings about everyone here. But ultimately, do I wish everyone here loving kindness? Yeah, I actually do. You know what I mean? If there's someone in the world I'm neutral about, and I don't really know much about them, have relatively little experience with them, on the baseline level, I want loving kindness for them. I just do, I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't fundamentally feel that. So some people struggle with that because it feels very vague, or that, as I say, I had never encountered that one before. I was like, what are you talking about? But yeah, does anyone have any questions or thoughts about someone that they're relatively neutral to? Again, it's not, there isn't a goal of turning people you're neutral towards into your friends. It's a principle of showing loving kindness to people.
I've sent so much loving kindness to Sprouts.
I know. I gotta say, whenever somebody says the grocery store, I'm like, no, not here, because we have loving kindness.
Yeah.
I sometimes run into people from Sprouts outside of Sprouts, and I immediately am like, and I won't even know where they're from. I'll be like, who's that lovely person? And then I'm like, wait, that's one of the checkout people from Sprouts.
Yeah.
And I even actually, and this leads to the next one. There is, well, this is going to start like a gossip or something, but I realized that there was a person working at a business who was very pleasant to me, who always, I always had generally positive interactions, and I saw them get into their vehicle, which had the sticker of something I oppose in society. And it really helped me with this practice because it made me say, this is a person who helps me at this business, who provides me with a service, who has never done me any harm whatsoever. To the best of my knowledge, I don't really know. I don't care if they've caused harm to other people. But at the end of the day, do I wish them loving kindness? Yeah, I do. So that actually has helped me get the circle from myself, what I love, neutral, to people I have difficulty with, right? Because until I saw this person enter their vehicle, I didn't know that they had a perspective that I strongly disagree with or feel truly uncomfortable with. But am I now going to be a jerk to them when they're providing me my service? No, I'm going to wish them loving kindness. So that actually segues into the difficult person. So this can be really hard. And I think one of the hardest things is that for me, I felt like this was the place where we fix it. we're going to fix this one and solve this one. And this is where you're going to let go of every negative feeling you've ever had for people through meditation, and it's going to be a miracle. That is not a realistic expectation, and it's also not even the point of Buddhism. Like, it's not. We are here to be wise. We're here to have right actions. You know, that can include not going along with things that are against your feeling of what causes or does not cause harm. So sometimes people feel that this means thinking of the person they most virulently disagree with, or the person they think might be causing the most harm to people, you know, and feeling loving kindness towards them. That's not what this is. This is about saying, I can have a difficult feeling towards somebody because of what they embody, who they are, what their personality is like, and still on a fundamental level, wish them loving kindness. And I kind of think of this as like, sometimes there have been times in meditation, and there was one time recently when we had a wonderful guest speaker who was leading the most beautiful meditation. And I was feeling such intense waves of anger. I was just feeling wave after wave of anger and betrayal and hurt. I don't know why. It had nothing to do with my day, nothing to do with this wonderful meditation leader. And I kind of went back to that baseline of, are there people with whom I'm having difficulty or disagreements or differences of opinion or difference of outlook to whom I would wish harm? The truth is no. You know, really, no. There's one person on earth I'd like to pull their hair. I'm not joking. If I ever encounter this person, I'm pulling their hair. I'm probably not pulling their hair because I'm kind of a little bit more like law-abiding than that. Like, I hate the idea of like getting into trouble, and it would look really weird to just like pull someone's hair on earth. But like on the street, but like there is actually a person in the world I would like to pull their hair. Do I wish them harm? Not really. I mean, pulling their hair is not a nice thing to do, but I don't want to like, you know, harm this person or harm their children or harm their friends or harm their spouse or blow up their house, you know. I'm human. I'm definitely imperfect. I'm sure the Buddha didn't want to pull people's hair. I want to pull someone's hair. Am I ever not going to want to pull her hair? Her, I shouldn't have gendered her. Them. Probably not, but you know, who knows? Maybe I'll meditate long enough and fundamentally the sensation of wanting to pull their hair will leave me. I'm certainly old enough that I shouldn't be having these impulses. But again, do I wish them harm? No. Do I wish their family harm? No. Do I wish their friends harm? No. Do I wish their home to be destroyed or hurt or harmed? No. So to me, the difficult person can sometimes sound more, more challenging than it has to be, which is not to say that if there is that person for whom, you know, it's been a rough ride, you know, this can't also be used. The point is that that's not a mandate, at least as we practice it here at Dharma Bum. I mean, I suspect if you spent years in a meditative setting practicing this, there might be eventually an understanding that you would work towards a feeling of resolution with people who you truly had negative feelings towards or difficult feelings towards. I will say I have forgiven someone who really caused a lot of strife and a lot of harm. And sometimes when I think about this part of the difficult thing, I think, wow, you know, it can be done. You know, it is possible. I've met people who have been capable of showing kindness to in extremely painful and tragic even situations where there's part of me that has the like, I could never do that, or how could they do that? Like, that's extraordinary. But the more I practice this, and because I have in my lifetime had an experience of forgiveness towards someone who had harmed me, I find this part of the meditation practice, I won't say easier, but I find it, I can conceive of it. You know, I find it something that can be done. Doesn't mean it has to be done, and it doesn't mean it's going to be done every time. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah, Marcy.
So it kind of brings me to why I sometimes struggle with this practice in general, is when it starts getting to the more annoying elements of my life, really just people outside of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when I get to this point, I really have to like bring back compassion and loving kindness to myself.
Mhm.
I'm bothered by this,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
at this point, it's not really about that person. It's really, there's something that that's unsettled within myself, and that it's okay to like have this human moment. You know what I mean? That like, it's okay to just understand that right now I'm just struggling with this person because there's something inside of me that's not quite where I'm becoming. You know what I mean? I'm in the process of becoming unbothered, but right now I just kind of be compassionate with where I'm at in the process.
Yeah, and I think
Like,
that,
hung up,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is like one of those practices. It's just, I
yeah,
didn't have to do that. It would be fun.
I think that's true in a lot of cases, but I actually, this is just me. I don't think that's true in all cases. Not everyone who ever bothered you because of something wrong with you. There are people who do things that are harmful, you know.
But I mean, the people
yeah.
that bother me right
Now, yeah,
they're not.
yeah, they're not
just
harming
annoying
you.
me because
Yeah.
they're, you know,
Yeah.
something about, I
Yeah,
don't like the way they chew or whatever.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
certain things in this world
yeah.
that just annoy me. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
wish that I didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this person fundamentally.
Yeah.
It's really just me not being able to
yeah,
confront whatever it is.
yeah.
So,
And actually, I had a really weird one where completely spontaneously a few weeks ago in this meditation, I had the same person who summons love being the same person I was having difficulty towards. And it was 100% true in both cases. And I think it does go back. I'm hoping that by leading this, I can convey to myself a little bit of the why we meditate, because again, to me, it's not like I'm never not going to be bothered by people. They're always going to bother me. There's always going to be someone who chews loud or who, you know, God, there are some people who just, they have this talent for doing exactly the thing that you do not want them or need them to do at that exact moment. And that really, truthfully, to me, I don't care if it changes or not. I actually don't care if I get bothered. But fundamentally, underneath the annoying chewing, do I wish them loving kindness? Yeah. And then that gets me to the tougher places of when I am in conflict with people's thoughts or ideas or outlooks or perspectives. And I can really get what we now call triggered or riled up, or, you know, it can really just get me. And then I can think, do I wish them loving kindness? Yeah, I do. Yeah, truthfully, really, and honestly, I do. So I this is just, again, just me. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting annoyed with the way people chew or bite their fingernails or any of that. It's just, that's your MO. That's who you are. You know, the fundamental thing is just A, not being an asshole about it, and B, knowing that you still wish them loving kindness. And it is, I mean, I don't like to endow people who have children with sort of superior spiritual knowledge, but there is an experience of like just being so pissed off with your kid and they're being such a piece of shit, and you're just like, I can't stand this human in this moment, but you don't wish them harm, you wish them loving kindness. You wish they would cut out the annoying behavior, but you wish them loving kindness. And I think it's separating. I think a lot of what meditation is about is separating our habitual reaction and separating our sort of cognitive thoughts from essentially, I would say, I don't want to say a deeper truth because that conveys some kind of like elevation, but like an uncluttered truth, So the cluttered truth about this person is they have an annoying habit that gets on your nerves. The uncluttered truth about this person is they're probably a perfectly decent person. And so for me, metta is about getting to the uncluttered truth about people. Especially, again, right now, when it feels like all of our feelings about people can be very, very cluttered. You can be in 100% agreement and feel totally copacetic with somebody, and then they say that one thing that you're like, why? Like, what? And you're like, how? And that's the cluttered part, right? And so the loving kindness is getting to the uncluttered part. Oh, we barely have any time left. All right, all sentient beings, huge, right? Huge, but again, I think of it as going back to that original idea that we meditate to exist in the world. If we don't feel kindness towards sentient beings, why are we in this world? Could go live under a rock. We have 3 minutes left, which I have to include the dedication of merit. So I'll give the last 3 minutes to, any questions, any thoughts, any final comments, any questions from YouTube. Anything?
I have comments.
Yes, please.
I can relate to meditation, but instead I had to do something today, and it's working with a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and this part of meditation, I will never choose my dad
Mm-hmm.
because of many reasons. I have a lot of reasons not choosing him.
Mm-hmm.
But I did deliberately I chose him because I had this experience yesterday and today, and I realized today that it was transferred. I went to a grocery store, and as I was doing a checkout, I felt like I was being policed by the security guard.
Mm-hmm.
So I left the grocery store, but I was conflicted
Mm-hmm.
because there was no any reason why I was feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason by him policing me.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason for me feeling in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I was coming to this meditation, I stopped to fix my clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fixing my clothing when, on the other side of the street, I suddenly saw a person who was sneaking in the dark, and I started to feel like he was listening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was thinking as I was coming to being, what is this? Yesterday I felt that way, and today I felt that way, and there's no reason for these two people would listen to me. There's no any reason, so I think I strongly believe that this was a transference.
Mm-hmm.
So I was seeing in these two men my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason that I chose today my dad. Because like I said before, if I have to choose a difficult person, there's so many people that I can choose before my parents.
Mm-hmm.
But today I decided to choose him because it has to do a symbolic experience rather than a real one. Because there's no reason to be a real one in these two men. And so instead of complaining or asking like why I felt so entangled or conflicted with my dad, because there's so many aspects of him that actually I felt I could honor him as a dad.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found like I'm not going to go to the part that I have to like crucify him.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I'm going to choose to send blessing and send the part of the meditation, which is being at least have the intention to send love and kindness to him. So that's what I chose. I'm glad that came because that's what I want to do it. Work with that because it's nothing to do with these two men, but also I'm sure it has to do with him.
I realize I haven't been doing a very good job summarizing for YouTube, but there was a person here who was sharing that they had felt some hostility and some sensations of being policed or, surveyed by people around them in their day-to-day life. And it made them feel that in the meditation on a difficult person to focus on their dad, because they realized that this was bringing up feelings related to this person that they had difficulty with. And I would say, I think it's great. I think that thing was just fundamentally going down. I shouldn't even say great. That's like, what do you need my opinion for? But like to get back to that feeling of loving kindness. And again, not my area of expertise, but my understanding is that this particular meditation is being studied in brain imaging. And it is because when you're talking, as I understand you, talking about sensations of being policed, that may be connected in your brain to experiences of trauma or feeling unsafe or feeling sensations of hostility directed towards you. And what this meditation is shown to do in brain scans is to basically relax those areas so that there's less tension around traumatic experience. Again, I'm not saying this either as a brain scientist, which I'm not, nor as a spiritual leader, which I'm not, but more as a practitioner of saying that this is now a tool that is available to you, and so when you are out in the world, and there might be people in the world who might have hostility towards you at times for no apparent reason, that might happen. And even worse, the reason might be someone's race, someone's appearance, someone's gender, someone's manner, someone's dress, someone's clothing, someone's hygiene. And that might bring about feelings of hostility from someone else. And that is not a good thing. It's not an okay thing. But at the fundamental level, as long as you are safe, again, extricating yourself from any situation in which you are unsafe, which is, if to remain in unsafe things is to be unwise, and part of Buddhism is wisdom. But as long as you are in a place where you are safe, you can say, or one can say, we can say, I still feel loving kindness towards this person, or I can endeavor to feel or cultivate loving kindness towards this person, because at the end of the day, that will make the world a more livable place for me to walk around in. I will say, I'm probably going to end up saying this so many times leading this. I'll probably end up saying it every time, but one of the stories about Buddhism that I find extremely powerful is that Tina Turner left her abusive husband after becoming a practicing Buddhist. This is to say, Buddhism is not about tolerating violence towards yourself, hatred towards yourself, anger towards yourself. It is not about tolerating racism, sexism, genderism, transphobia, homophobia, when those things are causing harm. Because what happened was it awakened her to the possibility of change, right? And so by meditating, she became acquainted with herself to know that she needed to put herself in a safe place to have wisdom, to have enlightenment, to have contemplation, to have, all of the generosity, discipline. I'm looking at the paramitas: generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, meditative concentration, wisdom. You can't have these if you're being beaten up. You can't have these if you're being harmed. So I share that to say, let this practice bring you to an unharmed place. Let this practice bring you to a place of equanimity. That's why I do it, and I hope that that can be something that other people can take from this practice. And we're a little bit over, so I'm going to do the dedication of merit, ring the bell, and then ask our host to close. So if you feel comfortable with the tradition, you can hold your palms at your heart. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. And now I'll ask Marcy to help us out.
Good evening. My name is Marcy, and I'm tonight's host. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and a food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted on the entryways above this shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book that you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back whenever you're done with it. Please straighten your seats or cushions before you head out. And thank you for being here, and we wish you well and hope to see you again. Thank you.